Welcome, everybody, to the Pipeline Podcast. I am Kevin, the host, and
I am co-host Cameron.
we are here to tell you, because that's it, about our days. How was your day, Cameron?
You're just gonna talk about a day.
Yeah.
My day's been kind of good. Got the desk set up in the bedroom.
Yeah, that was a bitch.
It was a bitch. I can't wait to get a studio.
A studio apartment.
And my lizard tried to bite Kevin earlier.
It's okay. I still love him.
Yeah, he's still nice.
Even if he bit me, just let him deep throat my finger for a minute.
He goes for the bite and you just push.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get out of any bite.
He's like,
You just make them gag.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Because then they open their mouth.
No?
Yeah.
Well, how about your day? How was your day? I know you had to work today.
Yeah. Work was kind of shitty all around because it started out with this really asshole customer. Well, like power went out after that. But the thing that really killed my day was a customer came by and he's like, yeah, can I have 3 pepperoni pizzas? And I was like, we only got 1. He was like, well, and he like gave me that disgusted look, like if he had just seen like an old man shitting right on the side of the road, like that kind of face, like, oh my god. And it was just like dead silent for like a good 10 seconds, and it was awkward. And I was like, is this all you want? He was like, you got any wings, crazy bread? I was like, let me go check. So I go check, and then I come back, and I'm like, yeah, we got nothing of that. We just had 5 cars in front of you. We just opened. We weren't prepared to have this many people right away. And he was like, like he just gave me the look again for another like 20 seconds. And I'm like, well, do you want it? He was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take it, but you don't need to be a fucking asshole. I was like, I don't know what I said.
I don't know what I did.
I was like, I didn't say anything to be an asshole, but I'm sorry. He was like, yeah. Well, I was like, so you want it? He was like, yeah. So if I could go take it, he was like, I come back. He's like, oh, I'm gonna call your boss, by the way. I was like, nothing I said at this point makes me an asshole, but okay, you go ahead and call my boss. That just left me in a real sour mood. I wanted to fucking punch that dude right in the schnoz and send him to the hospital. Speaking of hospitals,
That's a good way to introduce the topic there.
on to our topic, which is hospital stories. I have a lot of hospital stories because it's like my second home. I kind of went there throughout my childhood, so
I got a few myself. Some personal and some ones I pulled up online.
well, start it out, bro.
You want
What
me to
got?
do it?
Yeah, go for it. What you got?
Yeah, my water.
Yeah, okay. Throat be parched after sucking that dick, huh?
Sucking them Pop-Tarts.
Popping your tart.
Eat a wetness cup. So, for one of my very first experiences I had with the hospital, that was just it wasn't even just a hospital, okay? This is how fucked it was. My first time ever having a seizure, it wasn't like a grand mal fall over and like spaz out seizure. I was having like my brain like flipped on itself.
Yeah.
For some reason, like conversation, I couldn't keep conversation. I couldn't remember anything that happened that day.
Yeah.
My brain would focus on one topic and only that topic, no matter what anybody else would say. So it was just crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, first off, at home, parents are experiencing this. My mom's freaking out. She's like, he's on drugs. Something's happening to my baby.
Boy on meth.
And so they end up taking me to the ER. They take me to the ER. The ER looks at me and they're like, yeah, we don't know what's going on. Try to take him to so-and-so. He's a specialist doctor. So they take me to this doctor and he takes a look at me and he's all, I feel like what you might be experiencing is neurological. You need to go to the neurologist. So we get transferred to the neurologist's office. Go to the neurologist. The neurologist is looking at me. He's all, I'm going to have to send you to the hospital so you can get CTs, MRIs, all that stuff so we can go see what's going on in your brain.
Yeah.
So we go from the neurologist's office all the way to the hospital. So we've been to 4 offices now, 4 different departments.
Okay.
I'm sitting there in the in the room and just kind of like minding my own business, just waiting for fucking time to go.
Did you get a MRI?
Not yet. So
Okay.
I was sitting there in the office waiting for everything to go, and they finally come in like a few hours later. They have the MRI machine ready to go. They go, they do the MRI. Afterwards, it results, yeah, he was having a seizure. We're going to prescribe him this medication, and we're going to monitor you for 5 days while on this medication to make sure you don't have another seizure. I'm sitting there like, in my head, I'm just freaking out because I didn't know what the fuck happened. And so I'm just like, okay. So they set me up because I'm going to be there for 5 days, decide to put an IV in me and all that shit.
Yeah.
The nurse misses my vein.
Good job.
3 times in
Three
this
times?
arm. In this arm, because you can't go into the same spot.
So your left arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in my left arm, she missed the main spot where they do the IV. Then they tried doing it up here, like near my armpit area, and they missed it there. Then they tried to do it in my hand, and they missed it there. So she goes to this arm. She tries to put it in the main spot, misses, and then finally gets it in my right hand.
What was going on? Was she high?
No, I get told a lot. I have what in the medical field they call spiderweb veins, which are just really thin veins and like really hard to hit.
Okay.
And there's a lot of them, but they're just really hard to get. Even now they look better though, so like I guess it's because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But they finally get it in. And so a whole day goes by of me taking this new medication. Since I was a kid, I wasn't good at taking pills.
Yeah.
I couldn't just like put a pill in my mouth and swallow it. I would have the worst time doing that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So they gave me this medication that came in capsules that you can pop open and like put in your food and eat it that way. That shit had the mintiest flavor you would ever experience. You put that shit in applesauce and it's no longer applesauce. You're just eating fucking crunchy mint.
Oh, dude, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I love mint.
So like, that's how I would eat it for the entirety of the day. Is put it in a little cup of applesauce and eat it. And so the entirety of the day goes by, and they need to test my blood to make sure I'm not intaking too much of this medication, because this medication I'm on can affect your liver if you have too much of it in your bloodstream at once or whatever.
Okay.
And so they're trying to monitor me to make sure I'm not taking too much. So they go to do a blood draw. Now let me mind you, this is at a time period where they didn't have the IVs where they can just get blood from the IV.
Yeah.
They had to go into another vein separate from what the IV was in so they can get your blood.
Okay.
I get woken up at like 3 in the fucking morning to do this.
Okay.
You know, I'm like a 12-year-old kid, parents aren't around, get woken up by strangers like, hey, we're gonna stab you. And so I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, okay, let's do it. And so they miss in my left arm. Luckily, they get it the second shot in the main spot, where in the arm crevice. They get the blood out. And then the next day comes.
Were you screaming like a bitch when they were taking shots, or
No,
have you never been like that?
No, I've always been like, look away, because I hate the feeling of the needle going in. And then watching it goes out, like the needle come out makes me sick. Like it makes me like, ew, like it gives me the shivers, right? And so I just never would pay attention. And then the next day comes, they had to do the same shit. Did it again. They missed all the veins. It was just pain in the ass. But I spent the whole fucking week in this hospital. Barely seeing the doctor, only really saw the nurse when they came to do blood draws. My parents were the one assisting me to go everywhere. I had a fucking old man as a roommate that didn't say a damn fucking word the entire time I was there. So it was just super awkward. Because there were just days where I'd be sitting there and I'd look over and he's just...
Just staring at you, mouth open, dumbfounded.
Yeah, he just like death stare.
I would have like turned to him and been like, "Hey, baby,
Hey.
how's it going?"
I don't know if like the man just couldn't speak or there's something wrong with his brain, but he didn't say a damn word the whole time I was there. Even when the nurses would like come in and talk to him, he just he wouldn't say anything. So it was very awkward. Anyway,
He's like, "I've seen too much."
But after that whole experience, basically, the bad experience of the hospital was the fact that I was being stabbed multiple times throughout multiple different days, and it was just horrible.
Yeah.
Finally ended up going to school covered in bandages in my arms and shit, and everyone's like freaking out because it kind of happened out of nowhere. It was a Monday afternoon when that happened, right after school. And so, like, nobody heard a damn thing from me the entirety of the rest of the week because I didn't have my phone on me. My parents called the school and let them know I was in the hospital. But, of course, the school ain't just going to tell the kids, yeah, your friend's in the hospital. You know? But it was crazy, and everyone was like, what's going on? And I was like, my brain don't work. It like to go right But that's one of my bad experiences.
That's great. That's so good. I love your misery.
Thank you.
It makes me feel less disastrous.
What you got? Hit me with what you got.
Well, there was this one time I was in Phoenix with my boy Tommy at the time, and well, we were kind of cleaning his place, and we were throwing out this wooden cabinet that I think it was like a hairdressing cabinet, and it was on wheels. It was really nice, too nice, some would say. So I'm looking at this thing with the utmost suspicion, and he's like, "We could throw it out." I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So we roll it over to the dumpster spot, and like it's a tiny room with a thing you throw trash down.
Yeah.
If you leave big things in there, the employees will come by and like take it. So we're in that room. I'm like, "Let's fuck it up." He was like, "What?" And I was like, "This is too nice. Let's fuck it up." And he was like, "Well, why?" And I was like, "Fuck you, Mom. It's not a phase. It's who I am." And I just started going to town on this thing. I was going to town so hard that it sounded like gunshots in the little concrete room we were in. So it was echoing. And Tommy, like, he had to step out because it was so loud. But he was dying, dude. And I was just going to town, mumbling to myself. And I was trying. And, like, I noticed that I wasn't making a dent in it. So I start going harder and faster. And, like, it gets... I make a good-sized dent in it. But this wood is so thick. It's like an inch thick.
Jesus.
And it's strong wood. So, like...
Mahogany.
I fucked my hands up. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is the matter with this thing? Is it me? Am I just weak? And I look over and my right hand's or my left hand's just swollen.
Oh,
just like
jeez.
completely swollen. It looks like a pillow with fingers. so I'm walking to Tommy and I'm looking at my hand and I'm going, "Dude, I think I broke my knuckle." And he looks at it. He was like, "Dude, you definitely broke your knuckle." And we end up going to the hospital. Or not a hospital, like an urgent
ER.
Yeah. Or not an ER even. We went to an urgent care, I think.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, like, they check me out. They say, "It's definitely broken. I'm an idiot." This was all for a joke. Worst joke I ever made. To this day, dude, I got a boxer fracture. And that's where your knuckle, like the bone connecting to your knuckle, broke and then pushed downwards out of place. The doctor in there was like, "It's not too bad. We don't have to do anything about this. It'll just heal and be normal, as it was." Well, fucking obviously not, because I don't have a knuckle. In my pinky knuckle, there's nothing there.
It's gone.
It's gone.
I got no knuckles.
So he calls me back. He's like, "I want one more look at it, and can we do it tomorrow?" I was like, "All right." So I'm still in Phoenix. I go down there again. Well, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send you to this hospital really quick." He sends me. I'm pulling up to this place. I'm like, I don't see any place that looks like a hospital around here. Well, like, little did I know, they signed me up for a children's hospital that's literally painted like purple and yellow. It looks like the most childish hospital. I'm like 17 at the time, almost 18. And so I'm like pulling up here, and I have that teenager pride of like, I don't want to be seen in a children's hospital. I'm in Phoenix. Who's gonna fucking see me?
Yeah, right.
Like, why would I ever think that? So I get in there, and I'm sitting in these tiny chairs that are not made for me at all. They had no idea the guys my size would be coming into the hospital. So I'm sitting in this tiny ass chair. Kids are asking me questions while I'm sitting in there, and they're like, "What's wrong?" And I like would lift up my hand and be like, "This is wrong," and it's all covered up. They're like, one kid's like, "Can you take off the bandage?" I'm like, "Kid, I'm not here to show off. I'm here to get shit done. I just want to leave, man.
I just want to go. I want to be in and out."
"Yeah, I understand. I gotta get a shot." And I was like, "That's nothing in comparison. I want to backhand you with this hand so bad." Doctor comes out. He's like, "All right, Kevin, let's go see." He has a look at it, and before he tells me anything, he goes out of the room. Like, he looks at it, he goes out of the room, and then he comes back with, like, the tallest, buffest black dude in the hospital. And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to have to re-break it. He's going to hold you down." Like, I was going to go feral, dude. Like, I was just going to lose it and just tear this place up if he broke it again. And I'm like, "Well, you didn't have to bring in the biggest guy. I'm not going to freak out. It's not that bad." He's like, it's nothing for you. He was just the only one near. Bullshit. I saw like 3 doctors walking past, like, hit rooms coming to this room.
This is just the biggest guy here.
You were like, "Yeah, who's on shift tonight?"
Give me Gerald.
Give Gerald. He's needed. So he's like holding my hand, and we're like cracking jokes the whole time. And then he cracks my knuckle. The jokes stop flowing. I'm instantly like, "Oh my god!" The big black dude that was like holding my arm, he goes, "Yeah, it happens sometimes." I go, "What?" It does. I guess it does, doesn't it? They're like, "All right, we'll send you to go." We were cracking jokes afterwards. That moment in pain, I was just like, "Oh, fuck!" But he sent me off. I call my mom and I go, Why does this happen to me?" She goes, "What?" I go, "Every time something bad happens, I go to a hospital, it just gets weird." It just gets really weird really fast, but I love it. I hate that you send me there, though. Because she was the one insisting on it. She's like, "You need to get that checked out while you're there."
Yeah, to go.
Obviously, I needed to. It's still not the same, though. They didn't fix it.
Yeah.
I went there twice and came back with no results. And the second time I felt pain and didn't come back with any results.
The second time it hurt.
It did hurt. It hurt so bad.
Hot.
It was a hot one.
A hot one.
I am a little proud that they had to send the biggest guy.
They're like, "There's a kid here, and I need your help holding him down." "Well, why me?" "He's 17.
He's 17, 6'3". He's like, "I got you."
I got you. He's like a new hire.
He's like, "I ain't ready for this." What's yours? Go on. Get one in.
So, okay.
Bitch.
I got one. I got another one. It's not me, but it's a funny story, and you know who it is. I won't say his name, of course.
Okay.
But I have a friend who lives out of state who had a terrible experience.
Okay.
I guess there was one day he was in the bathroom at his work, releasing his bowels.
Yeah.
And apparently he just started bleeding profusely and had the worst pain imaginable coming out of his ass.
Okay, I was wondering where that was going, where the bleeding was coming from. You were holding it back.
So he ends up like freaking out because he's bleeding all over the place and it's just not stopping. And so he like walks out to his boss and he's like, "I need you to take me to the hospital." And he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I am bleeding profusely out of my ass." And so everybody starts freaking out because he's just constantly bleeding, and all the girls at his work are like giving him like fucking pads and shit to like put over his ass to like hold the blood.
Yeah.
And apparently he went through like 7 or 8 pads on the way to the hospital.
Dude, that's so rough.
Yeah. And so he was saying by the time he was getting to the hospital, he was like barely conscious. So like he was losing so much blood.
Oh my god.
And he was bleeding all over the back seat of his boss's car.
Gross, dude.
He ends up getting into the hospital and they like get him sedated. They stop the bleeding and everything. And the whole time his doctor is this like really nice petite Asian lady. And she like goes over everything with him. They do scans, they give him antibiotics and help him, and they're like, okay, so what ended up happening was he had a small fracture on his colon. and because of him pushing too hard, it extended the fracture and just like completely ripped his asshole.
Oh my god.
And so that's what ended up happening. And so she tells him, she was like, we're gonna have to give you like anesthetics and all this other stuff, and we're gonna have to go in and do surgery and sew the fracture back up.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have you here for the next couple days, to make sure it stays sealed and it heals. Otherwise, you can go out, go to have a shit and just tear it open again.
Yeah.
So,
then you go into septic shock.
yeah. So he's sitting there and like they get him into the surgery room and he's all propped up and like, ass hanging out and legs set aside, he's spread eagle ass out. The whole time in his head, he's like, hey, that cute Asian lady's going to be the one sewing my butthole. And he hears the door open, and he just hears a deep voice coming, and he goes, huh? And he turns around, and it's a man the size of Jason coming in there to do his surgery. And he's just like, oh, no.
He's like, all right, boy. Bend over and cough.
He was just like, I was fully, like, prepared to be like, yeah, this lady's gonna get a look at my naked body, and then turn around and see that guy walk in.
Yeah, because it's the most sexy thing to see a bleeding butthole when you go into a patient.
But he's high as hell right now with all the anesthetics. Well, I can just imagine him going around and be like, oh. That man, because that guy's going in, to sew shit up.
Oh, man. Dude, that kind of makes me nauseous just because, like, the blood loss?
Oh,
that's
my God.
rough.
Yeah, honestly.
That's rough. Not only that, but, like, the smell of his boss's car.
Yeah, dude. It's so sad because he ended up being let go, like, right after that. Not because of that. It was just such a coincidence that COVID had, like, hit, and so they had to drop employees and... you're gonna have to bleep that. But he was a new hire at his work, and because he was on the bottom of the totem pole, they were like, you don't have seniority, we're getting rid of you.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that happened around the same time.
That's
He bled all over the backseat of his boss's car.
That's rough. That's super rough.
Yeah. You got another one?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking of rough, you like kinky sex?
Kinky sex.
You like rough sex? You like that kinky kink?
Just get a little...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go, yeah, Kevin, I love that.
I love it. Oh,
yeah.
it's so good.
Oh, yeah. All right. So there's this story. I can't remember where I saw it, but it was a video that I was watching, and it was telling a story about this couple who was... They were having the time. They were having the time. They were going past Bill Nye, Science Guy, going in small fry into the black eye. They were getting it on. They were getting all freaking mosey.
They were doing the naughty.
But they decided to go freaky. So, what they ended up doing was trying to find candles in their house. Well, they didn't get any candles. So they were like, fuck, what do we do? Luckily, they'd gone to the store and bought a lot of gummy bears. So they put that all in a bowl and put it in the microwave. Meanwhile, the wife is like handcuffed to the bed. Like, she's ready. She's ready to fuck. Let's get it on. And he's like, I'm coming. And he comes up with a bowl of melted gummy bears and he starts pouring it on her. And she's like, oh, that's hot. Oh, that's hot. Oh my God. Oh, get it off. And she starts screaming. And he's like, okay. And he's like trying to like get it off. He starts licking it, dude. 3rd-degree burns all over his tongue. He had to go to the doctor and explain that him and his wife had to get real kinky, spill hot gummy bear all over themselves. His wife, dude, her whole chest was fucked. 3rd-degree burns all over her chest.
Dude, I can only imagine. Like, she's like freaking out and screaming because it's burning. And in his head, he was like, oh, I could lick it off and get it off real quick. And then he licks, and it just cuts to both him and her.
He's like, what? This is so dude.
Dude, he probably talked like that to the doctor when he was there too. He was like, I got the gummy bears and I put it on her and I went to lick it up.
Dude, I think, I can't remember where I saw that from, but I wish I could remember so I could show you the video. It was pretty great.
That sounds pretty great. I got a little quick one that I had pulled up on the internet.
Yeah.
It's just a doctor talking about a patient, and it just goes. It's a very short one, but the doctor says, "I had a patient that got a pretty nasty infection, and the infection became septic. It had happened because she had stuffed collard greens in her vagina for several days because she thought it would induce an abortion."
God, turned son into a vegetable.
It was horrible. That's horrible.
Not in conventional means either.
Another quick one. Not a doctor story, but an EMT story. Had a woman who was in active labor. Despite insisting she couldn't be pregnant, she said her last period was like 10 months ago, so she had to be going through menopause. She was 25.
Menopause. The wonders of life. I got one. It was on Reddit, in the Ask Reddit forums, but it says, I worked in the dementia unit of a nursing home for 6 months. My first day there was a woman who had previously been in a mental hospital. And when I went to go talk to her, she points out the window and says, "See those kids out there? Aren't they beautiful?" There were no kids, but I went along with it. Then she goes, "I didn't mean to burn them. I didn't mean to kill my children." A couple weeks later, I had a man that was completely covered in shit. This happens too often in dementia units. And a lot of men are too embarrassed to let you clean them up. I hadn't learned this yet and was technically still training. And this man was too big for me to help on my own. I get that. A more experienced aide came in with me, and he got so mad that we were trying to help him that he tried to deck me in the job, but I ducked and he started choking the girl next to me. Dude, these people go through some hardcore shit.
Dude, that's crazy.
Another woman would sit in the corner of the dining facility with a cup of coffee and a box of tissues. She'd start to line up every tissue perfectly, then start screaming that she needed help. She'd start banging her coffee cup on the table. Then, when you asked her what was wrong, she wouldn't know what she wanted, but would tell you to get her food. She yelled at everyone, would get extremely violent. She threw hot tomato soup at me, pulled my hair, pinched, twisted every part of me she could reach, punched and kicked. Oh my god, dude. I need to ask my sister what she's been going through at her nursing home, because she takes care of people
like this.
Yeah. So that's... I wonder what she goes through. Anyway, it continues on with my last week of working there. A woman fell out of her wheelchair to the floor and was passed out. I forgot what happened to cause that, and had a bunch of aides rush to try to help her. She's gone to a seizure. She was violent with everyone and in danger of hurting herself. When I was called in to help, I was told to hold her down on a bed because she kept finding ways to get cuts all over her body. I couldn't hold her down at all. This woman had brute strength, even after all the sedatives. Needless to say, every time I came home from that job, I would be covered in excrement, body fluids, bruises, food, and cuts. Even teeth marks. Now I sell frozen yogurt. That's what I was kind of giggling through. That ending is great, dude. The shit people go through,
I know, it's crazy.
EMT workers must have it terrible, too.
Honestly.
Have you work at a doctor's office?
Oh my god. No, I can't... So, due to HIPAA reasons, of course, I can't give names or anything. I can tell experiences. But, like, it's... Working in a pain office, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, because we get some, like, nasty people. I don't mean nasty, like, gross. I mean, like, nasty, just, like, mentally just mean kind of people.
All right.
Like, there was... So, I'll give you 2 examples, not of, like, mean people, but just... one degree of like stupidity we deal with, and then the degree of mean we deal with.
Yeah.
So there was this kid that we had in our office. I say kid because he's younger than most of the patients. He was, a certain age. I'm not gonna go crazy. He was about my age, basically. Okay. So and we started prescribing a medication for his pain and all that. And in Arizona, there's really big like medication guidelines when it comes to opioids.
Yes.
There's like a lot of quotas you have to meet, and doctors' offices have to meet, because if they don't meet these quotas, they can lose their licenses for prescribing these things, because Arizona has a really big opioid epidemic.
Yes.
Anyway, the guy gets caught doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to be doing. And we go in there, and the nurse talks to him, and the only thing he says to like defend himself is, "I didn't know that was that. I was at some crazy party." That's what he said.
Oh my god!
And so we were like, "No, we ain't gonna help you anymore. You gotta go." So he ends up leaving. The literal next day, another guy got caught for the same abuse of substances, so he had to discharge him as a patient. As he's walking out, he hits one of our hand sanitizer things, breaks it clean off the wall, and splats hand sanitizer all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and just walks out and like slams the door. Next day, tries calling and asking if he can have his position back as a patient, and he's sorry for breaking equipment. And we're like, no.
No.
I didn't want to say too much because I don't know how much trouble I can get in for what I have said. I know as long as I'm not giving private information, then we're okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the extent of range of stupidity and anger.
This is more like educational, let's say.
Yeah.
Like as to what being in that position you can witness.
Yeah. And the other thing, the biggest stupidity aspect that we have to deal with is like when patients think that they know how the medical system works. Like we get so many patients that are just furious and angry with us because we can't schedule them to have their injections right away because their insurance has to approve it. Yeah. Their insurance has to approve it before we continue. Otherwise, the patient is solely responsible for covering the entire cost of that procedure, which is thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And we try explaining that to them, but they get all butthurt and angry. Well, you can't just schedule me right away and then try to get authorization before my appointment comes. No, because we can send it off today to get authorized. Your insurance doesn't have to respond to that message for 30 days.
Okay.
Legally. They don't have to respond to it for 30 days. And if we have you scheduled for a procedure before that 30 days, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like there are a lot of addicts that come through just trying to, get medications.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff as well.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
There was this one time my brother got sent to the hospital for getting shot in the eye with a BB gun.
Was it like a BB gun or airsoft?
It was airsoft, actually.
Airsoft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, airsoft gun, just right in the corner of the eye, right next to the nose.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't hear much about that, but apparently he still sees, unless he's been faking it this whole time.
The whole time.
Chris, you little bitch. Not lying to me.
I go in there and beat you in.
I kind of wanted to go into something from the ER that too many people talk about, but not a lot of people actually appreciate, which is things found in the asshole. If somebody has the willpower to shove something up their ass, you give them props.
And then go to the ER to have it removed.
Too little, too small, but the bigger it is, the more props you get. We're going to go through a list right here that I found on Ranker.com. Because I went for the third result in Google. But number one, I got to give props. It's a loaded gun, dude. This bitch had a loaded gun in her asshole. Oh. When you're at it, okay, so she had her name was freaking, it wasn't her, it was Dallas Archer of Tennessee. She was 21, had a loaded gun stashed it was a girl, in her lady parts.
In her lady parts, not up her ass.
Yeah. When she was booked to jail in 2014, she
imagine just pulling out a Glock out of your vagina.
Best way to kill a man. Metal detectors don't work in this uterus.
Dude, I wonder how big the gun was. Because I wonder if it's just a regular size handgun, or she have a fucking Desert Eagle up in there.
So she took it into the jail, right?
In the jail?
She did. But she was charged with introducing contraband into a penal facility and will serve several years in prison.
Jesus.
That's just fucking... The fact that you could shove a gun. Yeah, and it's not saying... It's saying the gun was stolen. Only adding to her charges. It's like, at the end of this, it's like, if you think that's bad, you won't believe where someone found this knife.
A knife? How do you get that in you without cutting yourself?
Somebody had a vibrator in there,
That's
and they tried to fish it out with tongs.
Oh no!
And they got the tongs stuck. How embarrassing, dude. Go to the doctor, pants like halfway pulled down.
You just got tongs sticking out of your ass.
Please help. Like, what are you doing? I got a vibrator in me. You want to see the picture for it?
You got a picture for it? Oh! They almost had it too.
It was like a game. They played good operation, bro.
Dude, how did they stick that up there that far? Like, was her boyfriend like holding it? He was like, "Yeah, jump on it."
An entire cutlery set, like forks, knives, and spoons.
No.
An entire set, dude. Margaret Daleman, a Netherlands native, was admitted to the hospital with searing stomach pains, and her x-ray showed that the problem was a sideways Bart Simpson head, a mutated pineapple, a facehugger alien, rather an entire set of forks and spoons, nearly 78 utensils total.
Jesus, 78 utensils.
78 utensils. You want to see that photo?
Yeah. Oh, it's just a collab.
Yeah, dude, it looks like
Wait.
Bart Simpson's head.
Why does it look like he like wrapped it all together and just went all at once?
Dude, he straight did. He was like, put those spoons and forks in my ass.
That's horrible, dude.
We're going to the Netherlands, baby. I don't know why, man, but like, decide to go all in. There are magnets found inside assholes.
I know there was
That's dangerous as fuck.
magnets.
Magnets.
Oh, I bet. I know on Jackass they had a guy like wrap a toy car in a condom and then shove it up his ass, then go get an X-ray. The guy's like, "Yeah, there's something wrong with my ass. It hurts." And the X-ray, and he's all. The doctor, it's like in a foreign country. I think it's like some Asian country or whatever. And like the doctor pulls the guy aside, and the doctor looks at him and he goes, "You tell nobody about this." He's all, "You don't tell any friends, no family, no one." And he points at the camera guy and he goes, "This guy knowing, that's too many people."
Did you know that like that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Did you know that swallowing magnets, like kids used to, that's why they stopped selling those magnet tech whatever. You know those toys that like connected magnets?
Oh,
that
yeah,
have the
yeah.
little round balls with the like plastic pieces with the metal ends at the end, or the magnetic pieces at the end.
I think you know what you're talking about, yeah.
They connect to the little ball and you could build stuff out of it.
Yeah.
So they stopped that. That was on a ban for a little bit because kids were swallowing the metal balls, and when they did that, they would do one, and then later on they do another. Well, like that ball never digested and was in their intestines, and the other one comes in. They connect and rip through organs.
Jesus.
To connect, because we have soft tissue in us.
Yeah.
It's like, doctors can instantly, incision that. So like, the fact that it's just so easy to end up in a hospital for a stupid fucking reason, it's just scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary because like somebody can just not shower and have like tons of things wrong with them for not showering for a week.
Yeah.
Because that bacteria buildup, it causes pus, it causes sweat, and like
it's horrible.
go into all your glands. It's just wrecked.
Yeah. You get fucked.
A lot of people up here do not take care of themselves.
It's horrible.
It is
bad.
bad.
Because it's sad too, because not only is that horrible, but we have like the worst hospital I have ever experienced here.
Summit Healthcare is a joke.
It really is. The guy that owns it, the director that owns the hospital, doesn't even have a doctorate in anything. He's just a business owner. He has no knowledge in medical.
Well, like the thing about Summit is when the doctors don't know what they're doing, it's known that they will burn or shred records.
That's horrible.
So they can't get sued.
You know, I got some crazy stories for Summit. One for me, and then one for one I heard recently during this whole COVID pandemic. But there was one time I ended up having a seizure, a full grand mal, in my house, and I just wasn't coming to for a while. So the wife and her dad call the ambulance. They come pick me up. It sucks too, though, because they waited like 5-6 minutes before they decided to do this, because I had told them before, I'm like, if I have a seizure, just monitor me, watch me, then when I start coming to, just bring me liquids, bring me water and stuff like that. But to them, that 5 minutes was like 50 minutes because they didn't know when it was going to stop. So they ended up calling the ambulance. Ambulance shows up. Right when they get there is when I start coming to. And so they're like trying to pull me up and put me on the gurney, and I'm sitting there and I like start waking up. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. I want to go in an ambulance. And they go, no, we have to take you to the hospital. I ended up finding out from an EMT that I currently work with. He tells me that if a situation like that happens, where a person has a seizure, and he states that he doesn't want to go, and there is family there to monitor him or take care of him if it were to happen again, that they can call us back, we generally would leave it alone. And I told him, well, they didn't leave me alone. And he believes that they did it because they were trying to get insurance money out of me. They were trying to get money out of me for going there to get me. And so I ended up riding the ambulance there to the hospital. They bring me in the room. I sit in my hospital room. No IV, no checkouts, no nurses, no nothing. For 3 whole hours. The only people that came in to check on me were my parents. And Nicole's been sitting there with me the entire time. Dude, freaking 3 hours later, the doctor finally pops his head in and he goes, how you feeling? And I'm like, feeling okay. I have a headache. I just want to go home. And the guy is like, well, we're going to monitor you for about another hour and then we'll send you out. And I'm sitting there like, can I get some water? Like, you guys haven't had an IV in me for 3 fucking hours. Yeah. My head hurts. I just want to leave. And so a whole another hour goes by and he goes, yeah, we'll discharge you. We'll let you get out of here, and like end up leaving. And that was that bad experience because like I didn't even get to see any medical professional. Closest medical professional I saw was an EMT that was making sure I wasn't going to have another seizure on the way to the hospital. So it's not like he stuck me with anything or like had to do anything. He just had to watch me.
Yeah. But your family could have done that.
Yeah. And so that was a whole bad experience. But another thing I had heard with our hospital.
I'm gonna interrupt you because okay. I got one. Hold on to that. We'll continue the flow.
Is it with Summit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna discuss any names because I don't know if they want this out there.
Yeah, of course.
Like people knowing exactly who this is. So somebody I know, their father had like a kind of bone cancer, and Summit at the time thought they gave him leukemia medication, like a medication for like a treatment for cancer that wasn't his type of cancer.
Yeah,
and ended up like within a week getting him into an almost vegetable state.
Jesus.
And then they were like, "Yeah, you can take him home." So they take him home, and like 2 weeks later, he's like dead. He dies. And when they try to sue, they're like, we have no record he was here.
That's horrible.
Absolutely no record. Like, you have no proof he was here. We don't know what to say.
That's horrible.
That is horrible, dude. They like kill people and then expect to just let it go, and I'm surprised it's gone on so long.
Yeah, it's bad. Well,
and
like,
it's still going on.
There was another one that hit another death at that hospital that hit up actually the online form pretty quickly when it happened. But during the whole COVID pandemic thing, they started with people that were having problems with O2. This wasn't just Summit. This was multiple hospitals practicing this.
Okay.
But this is what Summit did with this practice. So hospitals started practicing with older patients that would ended up not getting enough oxygen after catching COVID. So they would stick a tool. Sorry for that quick cut. Anyway, they started doing this whole thing where they took a tool. It was a pipe that they would, like a tube that they would, I forgot what it's called, but they like do it for patients that are completely unconscious to get food in there. Yeah. So they put this tube down people's throats into their lungs so they can pump oxygen into them and keep them breathing.
Through the nose, right?
Yeah, either through the nose or mouth, whatever. Or I think most of the time it's the nose, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Summit ended up doing that to a patient, which I don't think is a bad thing considering that other hospitals would do it. They were adopting a practice that was working in other hospitals. So Summit had thought after this guy, it's been 2 whole weeks, he should be recovered from COVID. Didn't test to see if maybe he still had fluid or problems, issues, any of that, right? So they end up taking the tube out. Guy suffocates and dies.
Wow.
Because they didn't test. They didn't try to see.
Yeah.
They just fucking went for it.
A lot of the time, people who need intensive care there won't get any treatment.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like, they'll get sent there through ER, and then like, a couple hours later, they'll send them back. There's nothing we could do.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot to me. You know, my mother would go into the hospital because of... there was one time she was suffering really bad. Like, she was just wailing in pain. And we send her to the hospital. 2 hours later, they bring her back. And they call us, and they're like, you got to come pick her up. You know, we don't have... Like, there's nothing we could do. I'm like, there's nothing you could do, really? There's nothing... There's a reason she was wailing in pain. What do you mean there's nothing you can do?
Yeah.
Well, like, you can't run some tests, figure out, you know, like,
What's
what you
causing
can
her
do.
pain?
No, there's nothing we could do. You have to come get her. And, like, it got to points to where they would call us and be like, we have other patients we need to see. Like, bro, your top priorities should be the people in there right now. Right?
Yeah, not just
unless
that.
they're, like, dying right then and there.
Yeah, and not just that. You're an emergency clinic.
Yeah.
You know, you're there for emergencies. If somebody's writhing in pain and there's nothing that they can do personally to help deal with that pain, and it's going to the degree to where it feels like they're dying in a sense, ER is the way to go. We tell at my pain clinic, when patients call us and say, I'm in serious agonizing pain and I don't know what to do, that's what we tell them, go to the ER.
Yeah.
Go to the ER, because if you're having serious issues, they can help with that. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, you are, and the doctors there just don't take it. Now, I know a couple people there that have well-meaning, like, they have their heart's in a good place.
Yeah.
But, like, the practices that have been initialized into Summit, not good.
No.
And, like, I hear these commercials all the time. Summit Healthcare has been ranked #1 in Arizona. And I'm like, no,
there's
hasn't.
no way.
St. John's Hospital is better than you guys by a landslide.
Yeah, my White Mountain Regional Medical Center in Springerville, 10 times better than Summit.
Yeah.
I'd rather-
Flagstaff's Hospital, way better than Summit Healthcare's.
Yeah, it's-
#1 my ass. Maybe the fucking #1 is in, like, #1 shithole.
#1 in Sholo, because they're the only fucking hospital in Sholo.
Go to an urgent care before you go to the Summit Hospital.
Honestly. Summit's just a problem. We have patients that come here and specifically request not to be sent to any Summit providers or a Summit facility to have shit done.
That's right.
It's because they have terrible experiences.
Yeah, and, like, a lot of the doctors are new.
Yeah.
They're, like, younger, so they don't care as much as
Yeah.
they should. And,
Of
like,
course.
they're not as serious, and they don't take it as... they don't take it serious, basically. You know?
Yeah. And, of course, like, Summit up here is just a giant monopoly. They tried too damn hard to buy all the providers up here, so they're the only competition.
Yeah,
in
they
town.
put every doctor in Sholo in their hospital. Like, they built a whole other section just to
put them there. The doctor I work for, he's been offered multiple times from Summit to come work with them. Multiple times, and he denies them every single time, but he will get anywhere between 5 or 6 requests to work for them a year. And, like, they just don't get it. They don't get the joke because they want to monopolize. They want to monopolize and own all the medical on the mountain. Whole reason we don't have that MRI facility anymore that was, like, across the street from Summit. Summit bought it and then immediately shut it down after buying because they wanted to be the only imaging competition on the mountain. So they bought that facility and shut it down and sold the building.
It's scumbag workplace.
It's horrible.
And, like, there are a couple doctors there that are super chill.
Yeah,
and they're nice.
I can't
but,
say
like,
that their doctors are bad. It's just the business. The business itself is terrible. And they have some really nice doctors. They have a couple doctors up here that I would recommend you going to see. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but that's because they're in their own facility. They're a primary care physician doctor that's separate from the main hospital. They're not a specialist because they put all the specialists in that extra building you were talking about that's in the main hospital.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of PCPs that basically use Summit in the sense of, since they have a lot of money, I can get good supplies and I don't have to follow what they do.
Well, there was this one time, this is more of a disgusting tale than anything, but it's not that gross. It's pretty common, I guess.
Is it
That's
about-
what the doctor says anyway.
Is it about them pulling that thing
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
your penis?
Yeah. So, like, I had a horse nail in my dick. Actually, what it is, this one time I had a cyst growing right above my ass crack, and it looked like it got so bad, like it was the size of a golf ball off of my back. So, like, it was bad, and it was red, and it was infected as fuck. So I was like, I need to go to a hospital. This pain sucks ass. I need to get out of me. Get it out of me. Get this bitch out of me. So I get to a hospital, and at the time I didn't have any insurance, so I was trying to go cheapest route, quickest solution. Just bite the bullet and fucking just like deal with it. So they're like, all right, do you want any, I was like, actually, if we can't do anesthesia, that'd be great.
Any sedation whatsoever.
No, and they're like, none of that. I don't need anything for the pain. They're like, you're sure? I was like, I don't have any insurance, so I need the bill to be as little as possible. They're like, are you sure? This is last chance. It's gonna hurt. And I was like, yeah, just do it. Just do it. I'll laugh through it all. He's like, no, you won't. And I was like, watch me. And so the first cut, dude, that sucked. I felt I felt the skin rip apart as soon as he cut it.
Ugh.
And I was like sitting there like, ha ha ha, like holding the rails, like force laughing my way through it. And he was like, wow, you're doing a good job, as he's just scraping everything out, dude. I feel the tools go in, scrape it all out, go in again, scrape all that.
That's
I'm feeling
horrible.
all of it. And the smell, because when cysts are so close to an asshole,
Yeah,
they stink.
They take a stank.
because they got a certain bacteria in it
Yeah.
that is in fecal matter. And so, like, a lot of the times the pus will be brown, which is fucking disgusting, but the smell was, ugh. It was disgusting,
You're
dude.
sitting there laughing, going,
No, seriously, I was like, like in my head, I was like, God damn, I want to throw up. And it was nausea-inducing. It was painful. One of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life. But then they like stuffed it, and they're like, come back in 3 days. We'll take out the stuffing, stuff it again. I had to do that for like weeks,
Jesus.
just doing that because it was so big. It was
Yeah.
such a big cyst, and I'm never, ever going with pain again. Give me something for the pain every time. Fuck that.
Dude, that must have sucked.
It did suck. It sucked hardcore.
It's crazy.
You have a story?
Not anything that crazy. Let's see. Trying to think of one. I don't think I have any more personal, so I do my damnedest not to go to Summit most of the time.
Oh,
And
okay.
if I have to go to the emergency room, I go to fucking, an urgent care, not the Summit's ER. Oh, I got one that's like pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I want to say it was my dad, but it might have been you telling me the story. But I know somebody had told me a story about one time they were sitting there in the Summit waiting room, the ER waiting room, to go in to go get seen. And this lady comes in with her hand wrapped, her husband like carrying her in, and she's just profusely bleeding. Like that, you can see whoever was telling me the story was saying that you can see that the towel used to be white because there was white spots, but the whole thing was just blood red, like drenched. And like they were dripping blood coming in there.
Yeah.
And he was like, she needs to go back there and gets to be seen. And the people up front were like, well, we need you to fill out this paperwork before we pull her back, yada yada. And they made her wait. They made her go into the waiting room and sit and wait until the doctor was ready to call her back.
God,
like
slap
this,
somebody,
this
bro.
lady's bleeding out. Something's obviously wrong with her hand.
She's old too, so she
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of blood anymore.
Yeah, like seriously, you're gonna tell this person, yeah, fill out this paperwork, even though you're bleeding out in my lobby.
Let the husband do it. They should, if anything, they should have been like, all right, you stay out here.
Yeah.
Fill out the paperwork. We're gonna send him in.
Yeah, apparently too, whoever was telling me the story also was saying that they brought out a bucket filled with more towels and rags for her to bleed into and wrap her hand around till they were ready for her.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So she was sitting there in the waiting room, constantly changing her wrappings, bleeding into this bucket.
What garbage!
It's horrible.
What a trash heap.
You can't, like, it's ridiculous. I can only imagine because my dad had a similar incident.
Yeah.
But according to my parents, the only reason, like, they had gotten in as fast as it is because nobody was in the waiting room.
Yeah.
And I feel like my dad could have died because I kid you not. So the story goes, first off, he's talking to Trace. He's sitting there talking to Trace. My dad had just bought a brand new knife.
Yeah.
And you know how they wrap the knives in those, like, plastic covering that you have to cut with scissors to get open, like there's no other, or something sharp.
Yeah.
You can't just pull it apart, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So my dad's using the knife to cut it out of the plastic. He's just using the knife itself, and he's sitting there talking to Trace, and not knowing how far he was from actually getting out, ends up pulling the knife all the way out, and like he feels something touch his arm, and he like drops the knife and he grabs his arm, and he looks at Trace and he goes, "Oh, that was close," and he moves his hand, and he starts pouring blood. It was not close. He gashed his whole fucking forearm completely open. And so he, like, runs over to the sink, and he's holding it closed, and he's sitting there washing the blood off, and he, like, yells at Devin. He's like, go get your mom. Go get your mom. I need her right now. And Devin runs upstairs, gets my mom. My mom comes down. She's freaking out because, like, my dad's just gutted open in his arm, profusely bleeding. And they end up going to the hospital, and they bring him in, everything, and they get it all fixed up. And my dad's funny. He has a picture of himself on his phone going like this, you know, peace sign, hand up, and his whole arm just open. Like, you could see right into his arm because they stopped the bleeding and cleaned it up at that point. So he was just like, but I can only imagine like a scenario like that happening with that lady with her hand gutted open like that. I can only imagine what that would have happened like my dad, because my dad clearly a veins cut.
That was like down the road. You know,
yeah.
Like not across the street, down the road on the arm.
Yeah, that wasn't, it was not, look at me, I'm cutting. This was suicide attempt to kind of cut. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
And so, and I can only imagine, like, if it was that busy and my dad went in there with that. Because he's not going to sit there and go, look at my arm and just let it, you know, all over the place. Yeah. And he's just holding a bloody rag over his arm.
Your dad getting really angry and just bleeding all over the window.
Oh yeah, he definitely would.
Just like letting himself bleed all over the window until they did something about it.
Yeah, but I'm happy they got him in and got him all fixed up. But Jesus, dude, a funny story about my dad too. Similar thing, kinda, same kind of like panic on rushing to the ER. Mm-hmm. But it was over something different. No injuries, nothing was made. My dad had a pot brownie, and he had like 2 of those bitches, whole brownies, not knowing how much THC was in there, and he became completely unresponsive. And my mom was just like terrified he was dying. Because, like, you know, my mom isn't like on top of like what drugs do you do or anything. She like you know, she just knows basic shit for like medical. Yeah. You know, she's not on top of what THC does to you or what effects it can have on your body. You know, she was raised in the time period of like, you smoke marijuana, you're gonna die kind of thing. Yeah. So she's like freaking out because my dad's just completely unresponsive on the couch, and she's just like, we gotta get him to the ER. She apparently like blew up Devin and was like screaming at him, what do I do? Because she knew Devin smoked pot and like did that kind of stuff. And he was just like, calm down, nothing's wrong with Dad. And she goes, no, you gotta get over here and you have to help me get him to the hospital. And the whole time they're driving my dad to the hospital, who could still walk and still kind of like comprehend sentences, but he's just out of it. The whole time my mom's just freaking out in the car, and Devin's just like, calm down. Nothing's going to be wrong. You know, nothing's going to happen. Then my dad starts, like, just profusely throwing up. And my mom's like, he's dying! He's dying! Get
him to the hospital! This man's fucked!
They end up getting to the hospital. He's perfectly fine. Jumping off from a hospital story, but just going into another story about my dad being high as hell. There was one time in Vegas, he got severely crossfaded. He was high as hell and drunk off his ass. They ended up taking like some kind of taxi limo service to their hotel, but on the way there, the taxi limo guy was like, hey, I know a really fun party spot, strip club you guys can go to and you guys can have a good time. And everyone was like, yeah, let's go do that. Let's go there. So they go over there to get dropped off. And my dad said, told me, he was like, I only remember is sitting there in that strip club, you know, looking up at women, you know, smile on my face. And I turn and I look over and I start looking around. And I'm like, how did we get here? How did we get here? He's like, I started panicking because I didn't remember how I got to the strip club. He was like, I was having like a hangover moment where I was just like, what happened to me? How did I get here?
I got a story. I've broken my arm a couple of times. I've broken a lot of bones in my body. But like, one of the times I went to the hospital for breaking my arm, and it was all because this is a funny ass drunk story. So I had just turned 17. I get a longboard for my birthday. I'm hella hyped. I wanted a longboard for a long time. So I take that. It was a fine ass longboard too, dude. It was a good one. Like one of those ones that I could like ride off of the street into the grass, no problems.
Oh, nice.
You know, like it was just smooth. So I take this bitch out for a ride, and I'm like, it was on my birthday. I'm going down this hill, and there's a little private park where I live.
Sorry for the screaming in the background. I have kids.
There's a private park in my neighborhood, and we went there. Well, I went there on my longboard going down this steep hill, and as I'm passing this little park, somebody's like, hey, nice longboard. And I thought they were fucking making fun of me. So like, you know me, I just like start going up the hill that's past the park and slow down. I turn around, start going back to them, and I get to the street right across from the park, and I'm like, what did you guys just say? And he was like, hey, we said nice longboard. And then like mid-sentence, they were like, is that Kevin? And like, these are people that I knew from my childhood. Not a good group of people. People that I would never hang out with again in my life. They're just kind of scumbags. Well, like, they invite me over, and as a kid, I just wanted some friends. I just wanted to be cool because they were drinking at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'm gonna indulge too. So they're giving me shots upon shots upon shots, but they're dropping shots into these shots I'm taking.
Oh no.
And so I am getting fucked, dude. I got so fucking drunk. We're like, let's go to the gas station. We're walking to the gas station through a forest to go behind the gas station, but behind that gas station, there's like a 30-foot cliff.
Yeah, it just drops.
It just drops, and it's made of rocks. So like, you could climb it if you're good, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but I just so happened to be walking with the person who was in the Marines in that family, and he's like, let's climb this. Dumbass me didn't realize that, you know, gravity doesn't work with big kids. So I'm just like gung-ho, drunk as fuck. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So we start climbing. Dude, I surprisingly made it like, I'd say like 20, 25 feet in the air.
Oh, damn.
You know, like
almost there.
Yeah, dude, almost there. I was so close. And drunk old me just let go. I don't know what was going on in my brain. I just remember letting go and being like, oh, fuck. I take a humble tumble all the way down this cliff until, bam, I hit the ground. And, like, it's not, like, I'm just staring into the sky. Because I'm drunk, I went limp as soon as I fell. So I'm, like, looking at the sky. I don't feel much. And I hear the dude go, like, he's climbing down. And he gets to the bottom. He's like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I sit up and I look at my arm and it's bent. Like the middle of it's just bent. And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, dude, your arm's broken. That's bad. And I was like, I know, I need to go home.
I need to go home.
My longboard, I set it on the rocks at the bottom of this cliff. I was planning on, my dumbass was planning on climbing back down and just grabbing my longboard like nothing happened. Like the badass hardcore parkour I am. So,
Jesus.
I grabbed my board and this dude's following me home. He's like, dude, I'm gonna make sure you get home safe. I was like, dude, I'm gonna call my parents. Get out of here. You don't know what my parents are gonna do when they find you here. They're gonna probably call the cops on you for getting an underage person drunk.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, and he goes off. And I call my mom, and as soon as she answers, dude, the tears come in. I'm sorry, I'm drunk. And I broke my arm. And this bus comes along while I'm sobbing on the phone to my mom because I'm just disappointed I disappointed her. Because the disappointment in her voice with the what hit me hard. She's like, what? I was just like... While I'm doing this drunken, sad mumbling, the city bus comes by and stops at where I am, thinking I'm somebody who needs a ride, and I'm like waving her down, like keep going, and I'm fucking just crying on the phone, and she looks at me in total confusion, and then she pulls out her flip phone and then starts dialing a number, shuts the door, and starts driving off. I'm like panicking at this point. I'm like, the fucking bus just came by and the phone. And she's like, all right, Dad's on his way. Calm down, kid. So my dad picks me up, and this whole time I'm just like sitting there all depressed. I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, yep. My mom's like, we need to take him to a hospital. My dad like verbally slapped her in the face. He was like, we're not doing that. He's gonna get arrested. We're gonna get charged, and that's just not gonna be a good time. Like, it's not gonna be a good thing if we take him now. We're gonna let him sober up, and then we'll take him to the hospital in the morning. So like,
Go a whole day, just a broken arm.
Yeah, dude, I did. I was just laying on my bed, didn't say a word the entire day. I mean, I did walk around my house drunk and stupid for a while.
With your arm?
Yeah, just all fucked up. I'm just getting food. And
you're sitting there still being able to move your fingers and shit, but your whole arm.
Eventually, they told me to go in my room.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to lighten the mood after like being such a sad bitch. So, we go to the hospital. And the doctor's like, yeah, you're fucking dying. Oh, yeah, and you have a broken arm.
You're dying?
Yeah, skip that part.
Okay. I was like, wait, where'd the dying come from?
You're dying. It's a Fault in Our Stars moment right here, boys.
Yeah, you have a broken arm.
No.
Dude, I bet your arm was fucking like swollen.
Dude,
the
it was.
Next day.
It was
bet
bad.
It
was fat. It was dummy thick.
I was thinking about that.
Oh, man.
Dude, that's some crazy shit.
I know.
I've never broken I've never broken like a big bone in my body. Like I've broken fingers and my toes, but I've never like broken a leg or an arm or my ankle.
Yeah.
I've almost broken my ankle. I sprained the shit out of it. I don't know if you remember that, but my foot was the size of a fucking golf ball.
Yeah, I do
Dude,
remember that.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember like so about this story, it has nothing to do with the hospital, but more on injury aspect. So what ended up happening, I was at my work and one of our toilets got clogged, and my dad had bought I kind of work with my family in a sense. You know, my mom's COO of the company. My dad's the maintenance guy of the whole company.
Yeah.
Yada yada. I just help the front office and stuff. Anyway, my dad had bought this giant snake drain to like really get into the
those like
drains
fuzzy wires that you stick
yeah,
down
like
the
you stick in
drains.
toilets and stuff or
Yeah.
in drains. Yeah. So he ended up getting a really big one for toilets, and this toilet just was not doing anything.
A thick one or a really long one?
Really thick and long one. Like it's one that go into like the pipe system in toilets.
Like vibrator size or like dildo size?
Like double-ended dildo set.
Liar. You're a liar.
But I end up we could not unclog this toilet with the plunger, so I ended up getting this snake drain. Go to the toilet, ended up fixing it, getting it all, get shit covered at the end of the snake drain. It was nasty. Anyway, I go walking back out, and as I like step off No. What I ended up reaching over the side of the porch, like the step porch that we have right out back, and like trying to stand the snake thing up without touching the top of it because it's covered in shit. And I go to stand it up and I let go and it just flops and hits the floor. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, I gotta go down there. I gotta pick it up. I gotta set it up properly. Try not to touch the shit. And so I go down the stairs and I go to step off. I step into a ditch without knowing there was a ditch there because it was covered in leaves. And my foot just decided to go, it twisted on itself and all my weight was on my ankle. And I just fucking flop on the floor like a fish. My mom's sitting in her office. And she can clearly see straight out her window, right to where I fell. Apparently, she was like mid-conversation, and she watched me fall, and she goes, "Oh, Cameron!" And like everybody like turned around and looked out the window, and I'm like getting up off the floor, and I stand up. I'm like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. And I take a step. I'm like, oh God! And like, in my head, I'm just like,
you take a step, it's just glass shattering.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh.
So I like get up, and I'm like, like I get into the office. I'm like limping down the hallway, and one of the MAs, I was talking to my mom because we're down the hallway, you know, to get to where I fell, and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" And I'm like, "I think so." I'm like, "I don't know, but I think so."
Did you cry?
Like, no, I didn't. She was just like, "Just go to your mom's office, tell her you're all right." I was like, okay, I hobble all the way into my mom's office. Ivy sitting there looking at me as I go by. She was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." I get in my mom's office and I'm sitting there and she's like, "How's your foot feel?" And I'm like, "It's hot." She was like, "Well, it might be swelling because of how you fell." I took off my dude within like seconds of like me taking off my socks and shoes. You just see it just like, inflating. Aww. And she was like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "It hurts a lot." And she was like, "Oh, yeah, I bet it hurts a lot." So we end up going into our X-ray room and we do an X-ray on it. Nothing's wrong with it. It's just sprained. And so I'm just like, "Oh, thank God," but it still hurts. And like the whole week, dude, like it swelled up so bad to where everything. All my foot was just bruised to high hell. And it was stayed swollen for days. So, like, I would go into work with one shoe on and then the other foot just, like, wrapped up in a sock and with the sandal on because I couldn't fit my foot in my shoe.
Yeah.
And I remember Ivy just laughing at me because she was like, "Why are you wearing two different things?" And I was like, "Ivy, I can't put my foot in my other shoe because I can't wrap it." She was like, "Why did you just wear both sandals?" And I'm like, "Because it's unprofessional, Ivy. I can't do that." But I just remember, like, every day for, like, that entire week, I would just prop my foot up, like, we had a tiny little paper shredder under my desk, so I would just prop my foot up, put ice over it, and just work like that the entire day. It hurts so bad, like, because, like, to this day, like, when it gets too cold outside, I can feel the pain in my ankle. Like, I really fucked up whatever was in there, but luckily no bones are broken. That's the closest I ever come to breaking a bone.
Ankles, like, twisting or breaking in slow motion is hard to watch.
Dude, it really is. Like, with McGregor in his last fight,
yeah.
did you see that shit, dude? His foot, he bounced off that bitch.
Yeah, he was like, "Vunk."
It was terrible.
Wow, we've been going for an hour and 20 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, hour and 12 minutes.
12 into the world, into the video. Oh no!
Well, I think this was a good talk.
Yeah, no, we always have good talks. Alrighty, guys.